Okay. All right, so this is our second seminar series, right, in the leadership seminar. And I'm just going to introduce Barbara and not talk anymore about the seminar series. Remember that you do have an assignment that you have to do within 48 hours, right? It's a one-page or one-paragraph thing you have to write up, right? Everybody's gotten that in the syllabus, okay? So, Barbara Schuster is my wife. We're only related by marriage, however, we think. 44 and a half years. She grew up in South Bend, Indiana, in the United States. We met at the University of Pennsylvania, where we got bachelor's degrees in biology. She also got a master's degree in education because it was no additional cost, like an elective.
Got paid for by my undergraduate scholarship.
So her father made that decision, and I think you agreed with it,
Right. In my family, you do not give up education, especially if somebody else is footing the bill.
So with that master's degree in education, we got married as we graduated from what we in the States call college. We got married. I went straight to medical school, and Barbara spent a year teaching high school, which separated us by a year, gave us a little bit of money, a little independence. That's a whole other discussion. And then she started in medical school the year after me. 4 years of medical school, did 3 years of residency training in internal medicine, and then began an academic career as an educator and administrator. Spent maybe 15 years as a resident program educator, program director, assistant, associate, and full program director. We moved to Dayton, Ohio, where she became chair of the Department of Medicine, internal medicine at the medical school. And then about 8 years ago, we moved to Athens, Georgia, where she became dean of a new medical school program. And just one last thing, and then you're on, okay? We are at least one generation older than you, and closer to 2 generations. And during that period of time, during our careers, opportunities and activities for women have changed very, very dramatically. And I really don't know exactly what you're going to say. But Barbara has, throughout her career, been the first woman to do a lot of things in academic medicine. And that's been a big deal and not necessarily easy to accomplish. So I'm not going to say more. You may choose to. I'll go out and call me through, okay?
Well, it's really nice of all of you to show up on Yom Rishon, Sunday, okay, when most of us, Sunday's always very different, right? It takes you all year to get used to the fact that you're going to be working Sunday, and by Friday, okay, Yom Shishi, okay, you're already, everything's quieting down. For those of us who still work in the States, it means there's no email on Shabbat and then no email on Sunday. I know we're shown, but Israeli email comes. So it's always very, concerning. So my husband did the major introduction. I'm not really going to talk about myself today. That may come later in the year. And my story, though I'm always happy to tell you my story. But I hope we'll have a good time. Okay, I am sorry that we're missing Diego. Okay, because, and I'm sorry that we're missing some other people as well because of the cultural differences in all this. And I don't know if all of you know, but the other student from Africa has arrived. Kingdom has arrived. Okay, and so I suspect he's going to start class tomorrow, but we suspect he probably isn't going to make it today. All right, so that Kingdom arrived earlier than I think Richard thought that was going to happen, so that's good. Interrupt me. I'm going to call on you. I want to hear your stories. I want to hear what you have to say about some things. But, being the educator, by the end of the session, I hope that you'll be able to, over the next number of seminars, actually begin to see the differences in communication between men and women. Okay? So that's one of the things you should think about as you go through the year. As you watch people and as you listen to people, what are the similarities and what are the differences in communicating between men and women? Discuss how women are perceived differently than men in leadership roles. All right, and this kind of the beginning levels, at least in the States today, most young women say, there's no difference, everything's open to me. I haven't felt any bias whatsoever, but it's there and it keeps going. I'll show you some data and begin to consider the reasons for the disparities in actually the advancement of women leaders. So, what has been your experience? Anybody got some experience they'd like to share? I really wish we were sitting in a circle, you know.
Yeah, so the past year I worked at the Cancer Resource Center in the town that I'm from, and my manager, she's a woman, she's been working there for the past 3 years. I noticed a lot that when she would go ask the VP for anything, it would be a struggle for her, and it would always take forever. But then when Brad, who was above her a little bit, would go talk to him, to the VP, everything would get done easily. And that always frustrated her, but she just kept doing it and kept going at it. So that's
And you felt it had something to do that she was a woman?
yeah.
You felt,
Yeah.
okay? Anybody else have any? Yeah.
I used to work in an office that was kind of all run by women but led by men, and so the men had the offices and the women had the cubicles, but we were doing all the work, and so that was interesting. And then we finally had like an actual woman, a professional woman, come and be one of the professional people working there. And even so, the men would still make decisions without her, and then she'd come in, they'd ask her after they were decided. It would just kind of be a struggle.
And where are the offices of the control? Where's the power in an office structure? Where are those offices? Do you know, physically? In the corners. The big offices in the corners. Okay, so, a lot of what I'm going to say is not just in public health, but in general. Okay, try to generalize this. In the corners. So if you get a corner office, you've arrived. So how many of the women do you see with the corner offices? That's right. And here you have the men have the offices and the women are in the cubicles inside. Okay? It's amazing. How many, what's happening with CEOs of companies these days? Are the women making progress?
In certain sectors.
In certain sectors. What sectors? So some of them are making progress.
You see that there's been a shift towards bringing women more to visibility in academia, somewhat. And then there's been a lot of outcry about like STEM and more of the research-related fields. So there's a bigger push there just because the challenge has become more visible in terms of promoting women's leadership. But I know that for any friends I have who worked in STEM, there's still a lot of obstacles.
So they talk about it a lot. And the real question is, are they going to make it? Oh, they do a lot of talking. Okay, and over the 2 generations that I've gone through, there's a lot of talk. Okay, and I'll show you some information. So what is the difference between, now we have, although my husband is female, so I may have to use that gender. For those people looking at the video, I am sorry that you're not sitting in the room so we could have a greater conversation, but in adolescence, boys and girls get their first real dose of gender inequality. Girls suppress it and boys inflate it. Okay? Think about now. I don't know if this is all culturally. Okay? So think about your own cultures. Okay? And give me some stories. Do you remember anything about your adolescence? Yeah.
So growing up, I was always very sport oriented. I loved playing sports. I always wanted to play with the guys, and I had a lot of guy friends, and they would just be go play, but I would always hold myself back, and so I guess I would suppress it because I would feel I wouldn't be included. And then when I did end up playing, I still had to I still felt I had to not try. I don't know. I just didn't feel I could be my full self, and it was an equal playing field. There was always a level of inequality, even if I was just as good, physically and skill-wise.
Were you better than some of them?
A lot of the time, yeah. But
did you, when you got on that field, did you play better than that, or did you hold yourself back?
I would say when I was probably the older I got, the more I held myself back because of social. I think when I was social, and I think when I was younger it was less inhibited, but as I grew up I started realizing oh, maybe I shouldn't. What are they gonna think of me?
Right. Okay.
There's a lot of sort of gender normative things that are imposed on boys and girls at a young age. And even I would have considered myself sort of not in an athletic way, but a tomboy. My dad was an engineer, so he encouraged my sister and I to like play with power tools and to, I was definitely more active. And even the phrase like tomboy infers that you have more masculine behaviors because you're more active or because you're more engaged and you're not a delicate flower type of thing.
Yeah.
And it's that preconception that gets started really early on that, you know, if you do something out of the box or you do something energetic or you do something active, that you're more of a boy than you are a girl.
Or more math. How many people took advanced math in secondary school? How many women were in the class? What?
I was the only one.
You were the only one.
For what, math?
Math. Were you the only one in advanced math?
A few.
A few.
Yeah, just a few.
Just a few. There were 3 of us.
Mine was like 50-50,
Yeah.
like there were a lot of women in it.
Calculus? Is this calculus?
Yeah.
Beyond calculus? Ooh, you were in an advanced situation.
I guess, I don't know. Some of this is like surprising for me to hear. I've never really had an experience like any of these, to be honest.
And where did you grow up?
In Calgary, Alberta.
Okay. The home of the Cowboys, right?
Yeah.
Calgary? Okay. How about, was that equal? Did you see that equality?
Pardon me?
No, we'll get back to Calgary. I think I have a picture of Calgary in my head. I've been to Calgary.
Okay.
Okay, I've been to Calgary. So, Western Canada,
Yeah.
it's kind of like Western US. That's when I think of the Cowboys. Okay? So you didn't have that, okay? And yet many of your colleagues here did. Yeah. I mean, being in the math club just made me a geek. Right? Right? You were going to say something.
Yeah. I wanted to talk about the culture where I come from
Okay?
in terms of education.
Can everybody hear her? Okay.
Is my accent very
No,
bad?
your accent's great. Go ahead.
Okay. The boys are favored to school than the girls. Yeah. Families where female are sent to school are being considered like bad families. The girl child is being prepared for marriage. So, from that, you are trained to be in the kitchen with your mother. You don't go to school. And many boys don't go to school. So, that's the inequality where many families, because of that, they don't send their girl children to school. Coupled with lack of opportunities, it becomes so complicated. And so, girls are hardly educated.
And I think that's true in many countries. Okay, I think that's still true in many countries. But let's talk about England for a minute. What happens in the English school system? We're talking London. Anybody know? What?
Boarding school?
Boarding school for whom?
Boys.
For boys. Starting how old? Like 8. Right? And it was actually Princess Diana who refused to send her boys away. Right? So if you came from an upper level, family, if you come from an upper level family in England, you get sent to boarding school as young as age 8. And they're pretty tough, not so nice schools as I understand it, as far as the physical environment, right? And not the girls. Okay, so just by definition, right, that's not equal, right? And how about, employment of women in England? It's not the same. It's still not the same. So it's those things, and we started here. Okay, we started back, what is our expectations? Okay, if we take the Haredi Jewish population here, the Orthodox Jews, okay, what is the feeling about education for their girls and their boys, right? The girls are much more, we'll get you married off at the age of 17 or 18, right, than the others. So yeah, there's still inequality. So when we're talking, we can send you these slides, so you don't have to copy the slides if you don't want to. I'm sure I can get you, Richard will be happy to send you the slides. So think about those terrible days that all of us grew up in our teens, in our early preteens. Girls are not necessarily really nice with each other. I'm hearing some, okay? What are girls like? And how do you get along with girls? Go for it. Yeah, good.
They can be pretty catty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Very cliquey.
Yeah? They can be pretty catty.
They're a lot more passive aggressive than men, I find.
And also aggressive. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's not aggressive, but a lot of passive aggressive, right?
Yeah.
What are sororities like? Anybody in a sorority?
I lasted a year in one.
You stayed a year in one. What happened?
Well, really supportive, but being around, there were other sororities that, like my dad had a really positive experience in a fraternity, so they encouraged the Greek system because it is a good place to network. I had a positive experience in mine, but a lot of the other ones were sort of just astoundingly negative. They sort of reinforced all of those bad things, like the tickiness, like, sort of negligent behavior and things along those lines. So I don't think that in general they're an overwhelmingly positive experience.
They all wear the same dress on the same day, At the University of Georgia during Rush,
Yeah.
there's black dress day and there's white dress day, and you just see this.
What is
As they
it?
all go through Rush. You were gonna say something, because you were in a story.
I've been in a sorority for 4 years. My sorority is very different because it's a local sorority and it's very much not like the ones in the States. Like I've met people in the States, and my experience was very different. It was very supportive. It was girls in a commuter school trying to make friends. But towards the end of my time there was a lot of politics, and girls became very defensive because they felt like people were attacking them or speaking about them. Like I felt like a lot of girls were just on edge, and I found that it was, I just found girls were like paranoid and they never were fully trusting of each other. So that caused a lot of issues, but could have been a maturity thing, but I never thought I would join a sorority ever because I usually don't like being around so many girls.
Why?
Because I just find that a lot of girls can be very overdramatic. So I usually like a balance of like men and women of different personality types.
I can tell you I'm not good at women's groups.
Yeah.
They may define me, I'm just not really good,
Yeah, like when I told people I joined a sorority, people were shocked. Like, really? Like, yeah.
So does everybody in the room know what a sorority is? Okay, sorority is usually, at least in the States and in Canada, is when, during your college years, you live with a group of women who have to accept you. Okay, so you actually go through some process of being accepted into this group. All right, and the same thing is with the fraternities for the men. Okay, and one of the things about sororities and groups of women is they do better with conversation rituals that focus on rapport with each other. Oh, Susie, that dress is so beautiful today. Oh, yes, and so is yours. Okay, and I really like the earrings that you're wearing today. I mean, there are those people who will always come up to you and, versus I don't think the men say, Joe, I love that shirt. There's just no way, right? I mean, they just don't do that. It's because there's this rapport feeling that women have with each other that makes them comfortable. And men are expected to de-emphasize, emphasize rather than to downplay their status. I'm really great. You know what I just did today? I got blasted last night with beer, and that was great. Because I'm really terrific. I mean, the men are just different, and the women, they are just different. The women downplay which one is better. Oh, Susie, really, you're such a good cook. No, actually, Donna, what you made yesterday was terrific. I mean, how often do we hear that, right? Because we're really not going to be different as each other. We're going to be the same, okay? Whereas the men are saying, Joe, I did a great shot, didn't I? I won that basketball game for us today. All right? They have a different way of talking about it. The leader is expected to tell the lower status person what to do for the guys, okay? Versus we're very careful with that. Now, this is generalization. Obviously, this is not everybody. And we tend to talk in ways that balance everybody else's needs. We're a little more sensitive to that. Not everybody, but in general, women tend to be a little more sensitive. I mean, I'm going to talk a lot about, we're going to talk about Hillary today, but if you listen to Hillary, okay, she has gotten progressively less sensitive about how she says things, right? As it has gone on, but in general, she's much more sensitive. Okay, how she talks about people. The guys are always, more, again, not everybody, okay, they're giving orders, okay, they're getting into that role, that upper status role, and I'll tell you what to do, versus let's talk about this together, okay, there's a different way of saying that. What else happens? We also react better with the dynamic. Oh, let's sit down and discuss this. Okay, maybe we should meet for a cup of tea or a cup of coffee and talk about these things. They downplay their certainty. I had a medical student say to me right before I left, she said, you know, Dr. Schuster, the women in my small group are always apologizing. Before we answer a question, we apologize, you know, about, well, I may not be right. And I looked at Hannah, is her name, I said, Hannah, stop apologizing. Go back and tell all the women in the group to stop apologizing. But as women, we tend to do that. I find myself doing that. Okay, downplaying my certainty that I know what I'm doing. We'll take the one down position. How many people have taken either the secretary treasurer and the vice president position versus the president? Right? Okay, how many people have gone for the president? All right, we got a group of strong women, okay, in this room. A lot of people will say, it's okay, I'll take the minutes. I saw this happen, right? Right? I saw this happen, okay, in a brand new group being formed on the campus, you know, where the leadership is a male and a woman, and they just said, is anybody here willing to take the minutes? And immediately a woman volunteered. Okay, and in this case, it was actually a minority woman who volunteered. And I kept thinking, maybe you shouldn't do this. You know, I had another thing with the medical students who said, you know, every time I get into this room, and this is with a very outspoken woman, she said, those guys always expect me to take the minutes. And I looked at her and I said, stop. Well, how do I do that? I said, you walk in next time and say, I've taken all the minutes in the last, so who's next? And just point out somebody and say, okay, John, you're next. And she kind of looked, really? I said, yeah. Don't make them, you know, make you be the note taker all the time. But how about men? They're sensitive to that power dynamic. They like it. Okay? They feel better about it. They minimize their doubts. These, you know, oftentimes they have no doubts about how good they are. Ever seen that? Yeah, everybody's kind of, we kind of see that. You want to give me an example? Trump? Okay. Any particular things that he said?
That he has, you know, he knows everything about everything, and he's best at everything. He has the best memory and best words.
He has such good words.
Yeah, such good words, best words, very words, and
Yeah.
all that.
Yeah. So, doesn't bother him, right? So he is like a classic, right? If we had to do a cartoon of something like